Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, you do that. Alright, we're up now, finally. Sorry about that, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to OWL by the Numbers, your one-stop spot for all things Fantasy Overwatch League. I am your host, Totally Drunk, and tonight at episode number 24, we'll be taking a look at how the Overwatch League 2020 changes will impact Fantasy Overwatch League. We are all patiently awaiting a confirmation of 222, which should be announced this Thursday on Watchpoint. And of course, we're going to look ahead at what potential meta shifts we could see come Stage 4 with the 222 lock. But before we can jump into the agenda for tonight and introduce you to my co-host, let me just take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight for our live show on Twitch. And of course, thank all of our repeat listeners. So join me tonight, as always, are my co-hosts. We have a full house here tonight. So let me introduce, first off, my co-host on H&D, that being none other than Ed and R. Ed, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing peachy, fantastic, awesome, fan-diddly-tastic. Let's go with that. Fan-diddly-tastic. No, it's been fun. I've been super hot. I've had my air conditioning running full for the past week straight. But we got some good Overwatch in this weekend. Crazy amount of upsets. If anyone out there says they have Shock versus Dragons and the Dragons winning in 7 maps predicted.
Didn't Bren predict that?
Puckett, I think Puckett showed his bracket at the end of it.
Puckett's bracket was bullshit at the end. It was a joke.
So anyone who's like, no, I totally had the Shock versus Dragons and the championship with the Dragons winning, I'm calling you a liar. I'm going to flat out say that. You are a liar, good sir. But it was great. It was a great weekend for Overwatch. We didn't have to worry too much about fantasy. We did the dailies Thursday and Friday, but obviously can't really do daily on Saturday and definitely not Sunday. But we got to see something other than goats. And also, another pet peeve of mine, don't call Sombra goats. Goats is 3-3.
Snoats.
3-2-1, you mean?
Or call it the ladder, 3-2-1. Like, don't call it Sombra goats, because goats is 3-3. Like, that's what goats is. 3 tanks, 3 support.
This coming from the guy who every time someone gets substituted would be like, oh, Junkrat and goats is jotes?
Yeah, to be quite honest, goats is literally, from the evolution of what we've seen, goats is 3 support.
Mm-hmm.
Still not going with it, because goats is the first team to bring this up was actual team named Goats. That's why it's actually called Goats. Thank you, Gator.
And that rendition of Goats had Moira, who wasn't played in most of the renditions of Goats throughout season 2.
Yeah, but most of the traditional Goats, you're not running a DPS character.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really, is Baguette a healer, more of a DPS? Or what do we even classify her as? Like a hybrid? She's like a druid in World of Warcraft.
We saw Mercy being a body blocker, of all things, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that analogy, a druid. Wow.
It's like a druid. It's like, you're like, well, you can tank, you can heal, or you can damage. And you're not like, aren't the best at any one thing, but combine them all together, you're better than everyone else. Like, and then, those smug druid bastards. Like, I'm sorry, if you're one of those smug druid people, Totem, I know you're one of them.
To be fair, outside of vanilla WoW, Druid was one of the best PvP characters that you could play. So, Overwatch is a PvP game, hence Brig. Pretty good to play.
Brig is the new Druid.
Wow. So outside of the stage playoff upsets, we also had a little bit of shenanigans going down on the field thanks to a certain co-host that happens to be here tonight. So Ramses, what's been good with you, man?
So after this weekend, I know I'm acutely aware of 2 things. Number one, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I've never been carried harder in my life than Ding carried me in fantasy on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he was like the highest point earner by like a mile with
Like
191.
40 plus points differential.
It was ridiculous. This is why I always tend to side with Pharah players because you can at least get the splash damage or splash elimination to just barely get the edge ahead. So two things I know. Ding carried me this entire weekend. And the other thing I know, of course, is that Ednar loves the Outlaws. And I've never met a bigger Houston Outlaws fan in my life than Ednar, the man
True story.
Before you.
True story.
I love how you brought the sign with you. You know what? I applaud you.
You know,
Yeah,
that is commitment.
You got to follow through.
I figured it was my one chance, but I was in Burbank on Thursday, so I got to see Shanghai beat New York live and Houston get crushed, but I'll be honest, I expected it. So the Shanghai game was really, really fun, really great to watch. It's really awesome to see like a team kind of building its like a legendary moment in front of you, or like the first of a series of it. So it was great. I did bring in my sign, just reaffirming that Ednar does in fact love the Outlaws. I did get to sit between like Zoe and Bren, like in the perfect little niche. So it was a good weekend. I won Thursday night fantasy, and then I'm pretty sure I got destroyed on Friday night. Oh, I got fourth. Fourth isn't bad. I'll take fourth. So yeah, good weekend. How about you guys? Well, how about you, Totem?
Yeah, you don't want to ask me because you're just an asshole to me.
I do have to say I did really appreciate that. I was like, okay, which one of our listeners did that? And the fact that it was one of our co-hosts just made it that much better. But Bob, of course, like there was a lot of stuff that happened storyline-wise in these playoffs. So what did you think of the playoffs overall?
I thought that the playoffs were basically... I just kept thinking, okay, Shanghai, nice, upset. But you're not going to beat the next opponent. And they just kept going. Mm-hmm. And then I watched the... Oh, hi, by the way, I am Blazing Bob, coming to the show. Thank you. I just kept watching them and was like, okay, wow, damn. Destroyed Vancouver. All right. Then 3 games into the freaking main playoff with San Francisco, 3-0. I was like, what is going on? But yeah, it was a exciting playoff. It's funny because everybody, like, I didn't get to come on last week, but I went to the Atlanta homestand, and all the coaches and players told me that, because we asked a lot of 2-2-2 questions. And all the players and coaches told me that Shanghai was going to be amazing when 2-2-2 came in because of DM and Ding. And boy, they were right? But I do want to say one thing in my intro here. 2-2-2 is coming. It's coming Thursday at 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific. Yeah. And I want to say I'm so glad for the death of Goats, but I'm so sad for the death of Ball triple DPS, because Young Jin playing all this weekend on the Doomfist with the triple DPS was just so much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Are you excited for the birth of Bunker in every game?
Yeah, we're losing Goats, and that's awesome, but we are also losing a really cool comp that was starting to develop.
Yeah, like that's one thing I've kind of been going on and on about with people who are arguing like pro 2-2-2. It's like, don't cheer for it to be the death of Goats, because the death of Goats could be easily changed with like we just saw evolution of time.
I don't think like the teams were told this. The teams were told this at the start of the stage. I don't think the meta changes had they not been told this. So maybe they should just lie to the teams like constantly about changes, and maybe they'll try something. But this would not have happened had 2-2-2 not been told to the team.
But if they told them 2-2-2 and then they went to triple DPS, That's not 2-2-2.
Yes.
Like they went to a non-2-2-2.
They went
and
to
they were
training
told.
deep. They went to training DPS characters, and they just went to trying something new. And I think that only happens because they were forced into a corner.
Right, and in
I mean-
Shanghai's case, they do have interchangeable parts, which we'll talk about when we talk about the meta shift that we could see, because there are quite a few variations that we could see coming out of 2-2-2, specifically for Shanghai.
I mean, the teams didn't get told anything, but we ourselves got told a lot. We got a huge info dump, literally like a couple hours before we got the show notes. So there's a lot to talk about. Not all of it, like specifically like fantasy matchup and points related, but more like schedules and like setup for next season.
Yeah, so with that being said, yes, we did get a huge info dump. We're not going to go over like all the information that we did get earlier today. We'll do more of a deep dive on that tomorrow on Heroes Never Die, just because not everything does pertain to Fantasy Overwatch League. But with that being said, of course, we do have some changes coming to the 2020 season. So, Ed, why don't you kind of like lay down some of the big things that are going to impact what we're doing in Fantasy, like with Pick'ems, for example? Because I know the schedule is going to look a lot different in Season 3.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to look a lot different. We still have the Atlantic and the Pacific division conference, but now each conference has two divisions based on geography. So you're in like Atlanta North, you have Boston, London, New York, Paris, Toronto. And then Atlantic South, you have Atlanta, Florida, Houston, Philly, Justice. And then Pacific East, you have all the Chinese South Korea. So Chengdu, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, Shanghai, Seoul. That makes complete sense. And then you have the West Division in the Pacific, which looks pretty darn good in Dallas, Valiant, Gladiators, Shock, Titans.
Dallas got hosed.
They did. Now, with that being said, we don't know how it's going to end up next year. Like, I mean, at the end of last year, was anyone going to predict that Shanghai would win a stage? No.
Very true. Very true. You could always
different
change.
meta. Who like you can sign new players. So on
But
and so
what I
forth,
can
so.
tell you though is Hastro, the owner of the Dallas Fuel, is maybe a little too oh dang it. I'm just blanking on like such a simple word. Too
Cocky?
no. Wow, you guys do not know Hastro. No, too loyal. He is he is too loyal. You'll see that in his history of League of Legends. He keeps players longer than they're good. And that's loyalty, and I think that's going to hurt him going forward.
Unless their name's Rascal.
That's
I think I mean like loyal to people that give into the system. Like Rascal didn't. Rascal was very combative and even stated that after his release from Dallas, where they paid him throughout the rest of the year. So to like whatever you do, don't ever speak ill of Hastro, because the dude is a really good dude.
Yeah. So that's just kind of how they broke it down, which I think a lot of us kind of expected. Maybe not that they break it down into divisions, conferences within the division, but that like a lot of this would be broken up geography-wise, like for matchups, so on and so forth, for travel. So that doesn't have that much of a fantasy impact. Another thing that they're doing with the scheduling is everyone's going to play every single team every year. You're going to play everyone in your division or your conference twice. But then they get rid of all the stage playoffs, and then they're going to have just the week all-star break in between, which if they're not giving time off in between stages because there's not stages anymore, I don't think any of the players will want to play in the all-star game.
Maybe.
Like, I mean,
the
if
newer players will definitely like it. Like it was a good time this last all-star game.
If you're in Seoul or Hangzhou or whatever, are you going to want to spend your week off in between February to August schedule, flying to LA to perform in the all-star game and then fly back?
Well, and they didn't even say it was going to be in LA. They said it was going to be like at a home stadium.
It doesn't have to be LA, but it will be somewhere. So we'll see how that pans out. The other big thing is they will only be running games now on the weekend. So no more Thursday games, no more Friday games, I don't believe. It's just going to be Saturday and Sundays.
Hey, maybe some of us podcasts can not have to record on Monday all the time as well. Like maybe we actually can not all record exactly the same night at the same time.
Me and Totem don't record Monday.
Maybe.
Bob and I do.
Bob records Tuesday.
Yeah, but every Overwatch League podcast pretty much, like Overwatch League specific, does Monday nights.
For the most part.
Yeah, just do it right after it, so it's more fresh. But yeah, it's they're doing it. They're releasing the schedule next month, they said. So we'll have a more clear picture of what everything's going to be about, like who's going to be playing when, where they're going to be playing, what the times are, because the times are going to be local. So if you're a diehard Spark fan or Dynasty fan, you're going to have to get up at 3 a.m. to go watch those games, which does kind of suck.
Well, and I'm curious how they're going to do it. Like, I feel like it's going to be like West Coast games, then East Coast games, or vice versa. But it's going to be definitely a broken up broadcast, because the majority of the time, except when you're on the homestand weekends, is going to be the 4 different divisions, and that's going to be interesting and cool at the same time. And it's going to be really cool for the people overseas who have had to watch this at weird times, like you're talking about, for the entirety of it. So it's going to be something that they can really grow over in Europe and in Asia. And I think that is really cool.
Bob, do you think we'll get our Overwatch League Red Zone if they're doing simultaneous broadcasts?
Well, maybe I'll make it.
Or that could be part of like the Twitch.
If that was part of like
center.
it
could be that.
I think Watchpoint is going to have to revamp into a new type of show that covers it all, and maybe Watchpoint does that. Maybe ESPN starts putting out better content and getting. Some better stuff going on, and maybe they actually covered, or maybe someone new comes out, like Totem from the Overwatch League network starts it all. Like it's going to be a wild west, and we'll just have to see who takes those reins.
The 2 big things they didn't announce that I actually had questions on is what's going to go on with the announcers, or the play-by-play people, like. What's going to happen? Is each place going to have their own? Will teams be split up? 2, what are they going to be doing with the payouts? Because they had payouts for Stage 1 championship, Stage 2, Stage 3. Well, they got rid of those. What happens to because that's less money in the team's pockets.
Well, what it turns into is the teams having the home stands and having the local events. That's where they make their money. Yeah, and the league will no longer have to give those cash prizes, because your cash prize is how much Bud Light did you sell at your venue.
As far as the
announcer,
announcer,
a huge number.
As far as the announcer thing, Labosco and I have been talking about it every week since he, of course, is a former Contenders caster. Well, not former, he's still cast for Open Division. I take that back. I think at this point it's just where they don't have enough talent yet that they are they're totally confident to be able to do an individual per each one. Like if there's not going to be a Houston one and a Guangzhou one and a Dallas one, they're going to have 2 separate events going. I think either 2. Is it 2 or is it 4?
4. It will be 4, because a lot of the weeks it'll be just the 4 divisions playing, but we might get to see them in sequence. I don't know if they'll do them simultaneously in North America and simultaneously over in Asia and Europe.
We already have 4 caster teams. So we have as of now, we have 4 caster teams already in the league. That's not to say they couldn't promote Jaws and Leg Day or or ZP and Vast.
Vast and ZP, or
So-
Ham
Tornado.
Tornado and
Mhm.
Bupasaurus. There's
I think
or Lemon
yeah.
Kiwi. Like there's a lot of talent that is just ready to come in. And thanks to broadcast.gg, we have a lot of trained talent ready to come in.
It'll just depend, I think, on for me. What I'm more curious about is what they're going to do with the desk, where they have like a central desk that they tape all the stuff from, or they have like how many people are they going to have on site versus how many people are they going to have in the studio back home.
Yeah, I think the desk will actually, if they do them simultaneously, they'll have to get different desks. But if they do them where it's the East and the West, as far as like globally, then we'll have our desk here in North America, and then they'll have a new desk over in Asia and Europe. That's what I think.
Well, I think you put like Wolf and Achilleos as far as like the main like Korean division with like the Pacific. I think that's the easy run because they've already said they want to go back. Like their whole intention, I remember at the beginning of the season, was like, we're going to do it for this season to kind of get people like acquainted with the Korean players, but we'd like to go back to Contenders Korea.
But do you even worry about okay, so for the Asia market, do you even realize, like, do you even worry about English speaking talent? No. You get Chinese and Korean speaking talent for that desk. Like, you don't need North Americans really, because the majority of people are going to be fans of the ones over here. So I don't know that that's even worthwhile.
To have them like cast the games, I think they're still going to have them there. Those teams still have enough of them. Those teams still have enough of an American base.
You are.
Well, then that's like saying now that you can't have, Korean casters casting any of the games in LA to air back in South Korea.
They're all in LA. You have to have Korean casters. But once it moves over, do you really think there's a whole bunch of Dallas Fuel fans in Korea?
No, but
I don't
like
think
if
so.
you're airing it on Twitch, all right, so let's say Dallas goes over to Guangzhou and plays.
Okay.
Like,
yes,
how
you got
are
me
you
there.
going
You
to
got me
watch
there.
it? You need an English
Yeah,
caster.
you'll still need, but it'll be kind of like, I guess there's a lot of talent that, guys, if you are into casting, like, this is the time to jump in.
They're
Because, like, you're right. But, I mean, you also have stuff like Vast Stream, who watches different things. Like, there could be just people that creep up that become the fan favorite stream to watch during the stream.
All this to say, like, oh, sorry, Totem, go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, since we are expecting a lot of movement on that front, definitely look for opportunities either with broadcast.gg or Elo Hell, because those are basically the two primary sources right now for like that tier 2, tier 3 scene, not just for, like Overwatch talent, but also casters and analysts and things like that.
I do
Maybe
think
Ednark comes a caster.
this stream straight up sucks. This team is awful. Why would they ever run this comp? This team sucks. I hate them.
I would never be a caster, like a play-by-play person, but I would go on the desk.
Dude, play-by-play is tough.
It is.
Really, really tough. But color, I mean, I think you could probably do color.
I prefer to do color.
All these
I'd
changes...
Be like, put me and Bren on the same desk. There will be so many wild accusations and predictions thrown out there. Nobody knows what will be.
I like that you compared yourself to Bren.
I'm the
I
Bren of
see that
podcasting.
comparison. I see that comparison.
How soon before we get Ed to do a shoey on stream?
Like, so here's the thing. I'm throwing it out there right now. And the thing is, he's not listening, nor will he probably ever hear this. But Bren of the desk, I challenge you to a Widow 1v1 versus the Bren of the podcasting world. I'm throwing the gauntlet.
I'm pretty sure Bren would kill you.
Oh, dude, he would destroy me. But the thing is I'm throwing it out there.
I mean, I was able to beat you. I'm pretty sure the burrito maker will do
all
just
this.
fine.
All this to say, the main change fantasy wise, being that this is a fantasy podcast, I'm gonna die. Sorry.
I'm okay.
So
with this.
it's oh ow that hurt.
Oof.
Pick them like times times are just going to be hard to work with in general. It's going to be nice that it's all sequestered to Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So you only have to watch for 2 days. But as far as like tracking scores, it's going to be a lot harder.
It's going to be really hard.
But we can't track scores now.
Right?
Oh, API issue. Oh, crap. Oh, no. Oh.
We're reverting back to that. But anyways, I highly recommend with the schedule change to just get into that mindset of doing your pick'ems the day before. That way, you're not having to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get the Korea games, things like that.
The other big thing that this has is unlimited. And this is something me and you do, Totem, maybe less you, Ramses, and not Bob. Is we will adjust our unlimited rosters right beforehand. Like if the Seoul Dynasty tweet out their lineup and Jaehong's not in it, we'll go in and quick change it. Well, unless you're set your alarm for 1:45 in the morning to wake up and see what Seoul Dynasty's starting lineup is going to be, you're just going to have to hopefully rely on this.
I want to win that badly, Ed.
Well, the thing is it's not working for you now. But no, we're not bringing up standard or unlimited because, well, standard or unlimited sucks. Stop cradling the sign of me loving the Outlaws. That's creepy.
I cherish the truth. That's all.
But no, it's we're definitely going to have to put more faith in rosters. You're going to have to take more risks on some of these teams, especially like Seoul, a team like Seoul. Like, who knows if they're going to still do the same thing next year? But you're going to have to go in and kind of be like, okay, I hope they play Jaehong while I'm asleep. Right. Type of situations, and that's going to be tricky. And you'll have to take that into account. If they do play that, the Seoul Dynasty players become even less valuable.
But thinking about the daily model. The daily model could take advantage of making games that are just your division or just your conference, and make it so it's only teams that you specifically care about because you play them the majority of the time. There's so much opportunity moving into season 3.
Yeah. Oh, with daily, daily is the way to go.
Like daily is probably the way that I'm going to go from here on out. Period. Going forward. So I'm hoping that
League.
Well, yeah. I'm hoping that HighNoon.gg jumps into the daily model too, because I really like them and what they've done. And so but I think that's the way I'm moving in going forward, especially with all the travel I'll be doing in season 3. I can't be bothered to have to do it every week and have 1 week forgotten plague me for the entirety of the season. So daily, I think, is the way we need to go.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bob. Daily is the way of the future. But let's move on. We have the Stage 4 announcements that don't have drastic fantasy implications, but we have other stuff coming up.
Yeah, we do. I mean, Bob did mention
bigger stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob did mention at the top of the show that we are expecting that 222 announcement on a Watchpoint this Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see whether or not they're going to do any sort of predictions for the meta, but I know that's what we're doing tonight on our show. So with 222 coming, obviously we're going to be seeing a different meta. Of course, throughout Stage 3, we saw kind of the evolution of these heavy DPS compositions. We've seen a lot of Wrecking Ball triple DPS comps, a lot of double sniper at times. Of course, the Dragons ran their triple DPS and just ran shot through the top 3 teams in the league. We still see a little bit of Bunker, but Goats is long gone at this point. So it's going to be an interesting stage, to say the least, knowing that everyone is going to have to adjust. And we even saw a lot of teams struggling to adapt to the current meta, let alone the one that is going to happen in stage number 4. So Ramses, when we're looking at potential metas, what are some of the compositions you're expecting to see here in the coming weeks?
Well, I know there are some people who are very much like very optimistic people, like it's gonna go right back to dive, like it's gonna be great, and I don't think that's happening. You could maybe
Bunker.
we'll get to it. You can maybe think
Bunker.
double sniper just because Widow is really good. Hanzo's still pretty good right now. We have a
It
lot of
might be
teams
double
that have-
sniper.
It won't be double sniper won't be the meta, but I think this model we're seeing of Bunker's gonna get a lot of play.
And yeah,
Makes-
until Orisa gets nerfed, Bunker is
And-
going to be good.
Orisa
At this
and
point, we get-
Roadhog.
Well,
No,
and then
do
it's-
not nerf Roadhog anymore. Come on.
the poor boy has been nerfed so much. I think Bunker is going to be a lot more interesting, and not interesting. I'm sorry, it's going to be a lot more prevalent. I think we might see a lot of, as far as DPS specific comps. I think you could see a lot of Widow and Pharah. I think Widow is going to get a lot more prevalence again, just because you have to run less tanks, so you can't just one shot. You can one shot so many more targets, and then Pharah's going to be there to take advantage of like people of other teams who just can't zone effectively, like we saw like with Vancouver or even like with San Francisco, where half the reason you run that Roadhog is because the Pharah has to stay far away, or else you can hook her, bring her in, and kill her immediately.
Lots of people say Sombra's going to get less play, but I'm not so sure about that. Like with the size of her EMP being the size of a planet and it being able to shut off everything Bunker relies on, I think Sombra could still be played. Like she could still, like with most Bunker comps, she could still move around and farm Orisa and Hog.
I
So
think
I think
Houston
she
could
still
play
might
it.
be pretty big.
I think like a couple teams like Houston might play it. I see like teams that have a really good Sombra might put them in. It'll be a lot more map dependent. I think fantasy wise, it's going to be frustrating because I think we're going to go back to having a lot more specialists.
Yeah.
People who are going to come in for one map. So it's going to kind of screw over a lot of teams where we could just throw one guy out there and he'll get all the points for all 4 maps that day.
I think it'll be easier though, knowing that 2 tanks, 2 support, and 2 DPS are going to be played. It'll depend on how Overwatch League implements it, because if you can just designate one of your DPS as off tank that day, that'll make it harder. But if we can see what everyone is and they can only be played in that slot, it'll make it easier for fantasy overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can really see we have an offensive meta and a defensive meta, because like Bunker obviously Bunker on offense, not truly a thing for most maps except for escort payload maps.
I don't
can
know,
see-
dude. Bunker on offense, like I was playing it all this
I don't know.
weekend,
Hey,
and I was
are you
just playing
running
nothing but
Bunker on-
Hog.
Are you running
We're running Bunker on
point A for
everything.
Hanamura?
Like, yes, we actually ran it on Hanamura, and to success, because we get that first hook, and then boom, we have a pick. We have the spawn advantage. We're moving in, and boom, we got the point. Like we literally played almost exclusively Orisa Hog. Period.
Do we think they go
changed up the
full?
healers, but like it definitely can be used.
So like Orisa Hog is what's probably the most expected, but do we think teams go full Clockwork Vendetta and have like the Torbjorn and the Mei there?
Maybe
It's a possibility because it is a variation of Bunker.
It just depends on how good those players are on those characters, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's maybe like 2 Overwatch League teams that I feel like would suit them. But you know, we're all expecting Bunker to be pretty prevalent as well, and part of me does think like maybe we could see a little bit of like Genji Sombra dive. And the problem like right now is like the reason why you're not seeing Genji is because like he was just trash against 3-3. But against Bunker, I would not be surprised to see that happen. But for the most part, it is interesting knowing that we are going to move more into, you know, this pulled pork meta, so to speak. And it does make me wonder, like, for like a team like the San Francisco Shock, does this mean that we are going to see Smurf coming in more and more now that, you know, Horse will be meta?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything we know going into stage 4 is off the table, really. Like with the 2-2-2, because like no one expected them to, you know, bring in Smurf, Architect, and Striker in map 1 of the championships. Like, no one thought that. It's just like, you have to rethink how every team does it. Like, what does a team like the Hunters do? Yeah, like, they're used to running, the Winston variation of all the, not Winston, Wrecking Ball, and running triple DPS. Well, now they can't run triple DPS. Like, Houston has a whole different dynamic here. They were much more successful running Dante, Linkser, and Jake, but are they going to still run those 3 when one of them has to be on an off tank the whole time on Roadhog? I think a lot of it boils down to if your team has a Roadhog player or a D.Va player. Now, a Roadhog player, I guess it also depends on what you want to play on offense and defense. Because I despite Bob saying that he ran bunker comp on offense a lot, I don't think bunker comp on offense is
it was
the new meta.
Diamond Q 6 decks, so you run up a lot of like open division teams, so it's not like it's a joke. It's not like I was doing it in gold or silver.
But yeah, but
ow. It burns.
Gold and silver, anything can work. You can put 5 DPS with a Mercy and you can kill it. So,
yeah. But like, you're not thinking, okay, let's get a Torbjorn set up and do all this stuff while they're set up on point already, and we don't have the time to get set up, and stuff like that. I think on offense, you're going to see more of a dive comp,
like a Doomfist dive.
Yeah, like a Doomfist dive, something that could break
only if that only if that dive breaks the bumper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, defense, you get more of a bunker comp. Offense, you get more of a dive comp, and they kind of like go up against each other. Well, if that's the case, then you have these teams like, let's say they put who would play Roadhog? Dante?
No,
or Jake?
Dante probably. Dante or Jake.
Okay, yeah. So
I think you put Jake on the Torb or the
Coolbat.
But
Coolbat's not that great at Roadhog. I love the man. He's not better than
I've
Dante.
I've only seen him play D.Va, so I just don't know.
Yeah, but then is Dante? Are you comfortable playing Dante playing D.Va? Like, I know he's played it, but like.
But is D.Va gonna be that big? D.Va's nerfs are coming in stage 4.
There's gonna be certain maps where she's more prevalent, though.
Has been fixed, but I don't know, man. D.Va's a lot harder to play now.
Yeah, it's just D.Va has never not been in the meta.
Yeah, but she's not in the meta now in the ladder, like almost at all.
Yeah, the only time like you're really seeing her is either in straight dive, and like every once in a while she is in bunker for the off tank, but it's not like exclusive. Like, there's more times than not you will see Roadhog in instead of the D.Va in that situation.
Even without the nerfs in stage 3, how little have we seen D.Va?
Well, I mean, that was a lot because of the triple
she
DPS.
Worked?
Yeah, that's a lot of the triple DPS.
Well, but triple DPS lots of the time was like spam comps, and teams would try to go D.Va, and it would not work. It just wouldn't work. They were trying to do it. Vancouver,
New York tried to do it, and it did not work at all.
New York. Thank you for correcting me. Like, New York tried to do it, and it failed horribly. So that's without the debuffs that are coming in stage 4. So I'm really worried about D.Va going into stage 4.
I'm not. If the world didn't have D.Va, I'd be content.
I would be very sad.
Well, no, the world's always going to have D.Va because you're here, Ed.
Yeah, she has. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. That was a good one. D.Va, like, before the past 2 months, for the past 3 years, D.Va has been in the meta. Like, I don't think anybody can argue that. So having a meta, and a long extended meta without D.Va, I think I'm good with.
I will say that I get that sentiment, and I feel that way about Brigitte. Brigitte's going to need some changes going into a 2-2-2, but at least the D.Va play was really smart play, and it was 2 different play styles that most pros could only play offensive diva or defensive diva, and you praise Space and Fury because they could do both. And that's what I liked about Diva. I did like that she was always in, but I did like that there was a really high skill ceiling. And so I did like that part. Whereas Brigitte, I'm fine with her not being in the meta for a while.
Are you saying just flailing a mace around in someone's face isn't smart play?
That's skill.
I was gonna say, so a couple of points for the Houston specifically thing, just to throw it really quickly there. When we talk about teams that could go up or down in this meta, I think Houston has the potential to go up, but I think it's going to come down to the Roadhog play, and it's like we don't know who that's going to be yet. Because you could,
I think it's smartest to play Jake because Jake voice.
No, I think you have Jake in on the Torb / Junkrat.
No, dude.
Over Dante?
Bench Jake.
No.
Like, you could only have 2 DPS. Why would you bench Jake over Dante?
Because you put Dante on the
Roadhog.
Roadhog. You put Dante on the Roadhog is what I'm saying.
Okay.
This is the problem with Houston, is that Houston's off tanks are only realistically, I love them both, are only really good if that on one specific hero.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Jake would better fit that. Like, Dante can play so many different DPS heroes, and DPS being able to swap to multiple heroes, since it's the biggest pool, is going to be a really big thing. Like, EQO stock goes from here in GOATs, like actually
not even on the camera,
yeah, all the way up here. Like, EQO just goes to like back to the best DPS in the league. Like I toted him last year.
When I agree, it'll depend on who, but it's going to depend on how they classify this 2-2-2 lock. It's going to be whether it's a positional, like player position lock, or just a hero lock. I do think you think about like who's going to go up a lot. Teams that have really good Roadhog players. I think Choi immediately becomes a top. Choi Obin becomes immediately a top 3 off tank for me, fantasy.
So you're saying Dallas has a chance? Taimu on Hog.
Taimu might actually get time. We'll see. I think like. Time like Young Jin.
Actually, I would rather
AKM
on Hog or like
I mean, I'm saying
because Taimu is the only sniper that is a top end sniper on Dallas, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, so what teams? All right, so if you had to say 2 teams that rise the most and 2 teams that fall the most, because like everyone always everyone I've talked to about this, everyone's like, oh well, no, this team's going to do good. This team's, you're going to have teams that fall dramatically with 2-2-2. You just
Boston falls.
You think
Stellar
Boston falls?
might have helped him. I don't know enough about Stellar. I know he's a great tracer, but I don't know much else about him. And Boston was really lacking DPS, so I think Boston definitely falls.
They're not. There's not far for them to fall, though. I think.
True.
Like,
true. That is
like
very
15th.
true. Very true.
Like, I think Boston's a good point. I think I could see LA falling just because the DPS to me still have not.
Which
been...
one?
Which one?
Valiant. I still could see the Valiant falling just because realistically, you can't have Karif play everything. I don't see them having strong enough Roadhog play or strong enough secondary DPS play yet.
Hold on, help me out. LA's got
KSF, Agilities, and Shax. No.
They have Agilities, Shax, KSF, yeah, dude, yeah.
I think you start Agility.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, like the thing is you drop down to 2 of those DPS, and then you bring in your off tank who hasn't been playing, who is still one of the best off tanks in the league.
Oh, space is not the worry with the Valiant. For me, it's the DPS.
And I don't know if I'm that worried because like I'm higher on Shax than most.
I've been hearing Space has been working hard on his hog on stream. Iceham Jello, one of the one of the biggest fans of podcasts out there, has told me, so I believe him. I believe Space has been working on hog. So I'm interested to see it. I haven't seen it myself.
Total, what team do you think falls the most?
I mean, I don't really want to talk about who's going to fall the most. I want to talk about whose stock is going to rise, and
well, that was going to follow.
Was that a workaround to not say Soul?
Do it.
I mean, for me, I'm expecting double sniper. And straight out of the gate, you would have to think Corey's going to become more and more of a household name. Like, I'm expecting better things from the Justice, not just because Corey will be on Widow, but I fully expect this Team Envy tank duo to come in and just really reinvigorate this team across the board. And there's a good chance that, we'll see Justice pick up 3, potentially even 4 wins in this upcoming stage. But in regards to, like, teams that could fall, I do feel like the Valiant are one of those teams that are on the bubble. I feel like Shaxx at times has looked good, but he looked very shaky in the playoffs outside of that one Graphaton eat that definitely secured, it was Oasis for them. So he definitely made the play when it mattered most, but there's been just a lack of consistency with that team. And I feel like a lot of the pressure at that point would be put on Agility to kind of be, the carry hero on that team. He's no longer like the flash in the pan DPS like he was in, Season 1, when he would basically go for these really high-risk, barrages in the past, which, more times than not, tended to bite him in the ass. But I feel like the Valiant will fall. And really outside of that, I'm just trying to think of whose Widowmaker hasn't been impressing me that much. And I'm just trying to think, like, I think the Charge are going to be fine. Happy's been doing some pretty great work.
Yeah.
Boston's... What's that?
Sorry. No, I thought you were done. Go.
No, I was just to say, like, Boston is a big question mark, just because, yes, they did sign Seller, but, there's always that behind-the-scenes chatter about, well, is there a divide on that team with the Korean players and the coach and staff? So we don't know what that situation's going to look like. And I feel like in order for them to really stand out, Blaze's going to have to be on the Doomfist. Because every other look that we've seen from them hasn't been that great across the board. So I'm cautiously optimistic about them. But at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of this is going to boil down to where you rank the tank lines, because Orisa Hog is coming, and that's going to be the mainstay, and a lot of these potential meta shifts that we are going to see in Sage 4, I mean, you can just look at, like, Double Sniper, Clockwork Vendetta, bunker compositions. All of those revolve around Orisa and Roadhog.
Yep.
Like, the Hackfist compositions that we've seen have been primarily, like, Rein Zarya, but outside of that, you're probably not going to see Rein or Zarya throughout this stage, so it's going to be an interesting stage, to say the least. So a lot of these main tanks... main tanks are going to have to put a lot of work into their Orisa play.
I'm throwing the Hunters at the bottom of the barrel.
I think Hunter's fine.
I really am. I'm throwing Hunters
I
bottom
think
of the
you
barrel.
guys are missing... Like, I just got something from Totem Talking that I think everybody's kind of missing out fantasy-wise. So with 222 coming back in, it really empowers Mercy. So you have to think to yourself, what teams have really good Mercy players? And then you have to think, who's that Mercy going to be pocketing? Because that person's getting 33% more fantasy stats than anybody else. So I think going into this next stage, what you need to look at is who's the Mercy behind the DPS that you're playing, because that could make all the difference in the world. Hence, Ramses talking earlier, I didn't even think about it, about Ding carrying him. Well, it wasn't just Ding, Ramses. It was Coma, too.
Yep.
I think... Really quick, I think main healers are going to see a big jump in fantasy points. Just
I wasn't talking about main healers, though. I was talking about who the main healer... Well, Mercy's not really a main healer.
With the 30%,
who Mercy's boosting could see a huge jump.
Yeah. And you're going to see a weird thing in fantasy. Like, if you look at... So, I'm looking at the fantasy numbers from Thursday in DPS-wise, between Diem and Ding. Ding's on Pharah, Diem's on Widow. Diem probably just as dominant as Ding. Like, popped off on Widow. But Widow is not going to get the same number of fantasy points as Ding will, because he gets more splash damage. He will count for more kills. Diem may get that headshot or something like that, but he's not getting splash damage on 3
Yeah,
people that all die.
until we get
Less
points
pressure.
for headshots, widows are going to be
Yeah.
lackluster.
And, like you were talking about, Ramses, about, main healers really blowing up. And I don't think it's going to be because main healers are going to be doing that much more healing. It's that our flex supports are not playing Zenyatta.
Mm-hmm.
And Zenyatta is what made flex supports gods in the fantasy world. You look at all these Ana players. Well, Ana's not pumping out fantasy numbers.
Question: What's Rascal got the last couple weeks? Because I haven't been looking at it
Lord, hold on.
specifically,
Let me
but
see
I'm
what
just
he
curious
had.
about the Baptiste play because he's been doing a ton of heals and a ton of damage. So I'm curious if Baptiste players are going to become the new Zenyatta players, but just not as dominant as far as.
So I'm just looking at Friday because we didn't have obviously anything on Saturday or Sunday. So Rascal had 163 fantasy points on Friday, which was good.
Mhm.
But then you compare that to Agilities with 215 points, Godspeed 228 points. Baby had 223.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's going to shift to whoever's that damage. Like, no longer is the Zen going to be your biggest player. Your
Mhm.
biggest player is going to, and properly so, I might say, be your number one fantasy. Like, can you imagine if you were choosing a lineman in fantasy, which you don't do, like in the NFL, but like, can you imagine if that one was outscoring your wide receiver or your running back? Like, that would be horrible. So this is a good change,
Mhm.
but
It's gonna really throw fantasy on its head because I think the all-star of fantasy for stage 4 is gonna be Roadhog. Whoever's playing Roadhog. Because you get the
because of the
damage, you get the
heals
kills, and
too.
you get the healing.
Yeah,
You get
I was playing a lot of Hog
Roadhog.
this last weekend, and I was always like, sometimes I was silver heals.
Yeah, so you're getting the new Roadhog really is the new Zenyatta. They're pumping up the damage. They're not
Good
going to
hot
be
take, good hot
leading the
take.
team in healing. Zenyatta rarely ever leads the team in healing unless they're just only popping their trance during Zarya Graviton surges.
Sorry. Ed, I'm gonna have to stop you there. In Goats, Zenyatta is always the number one healer because of trance.
the trance during the Graviton
Yep.
surges. Like that, if you aren't using your trance during that, you're not.
Hence
leading
why
the team.
Goat sucks.
Yes. So, Roadhog will be the new Zenyatta from Goats. And then I think Pharah is going to be the new Zarya. Those are going to be your top point getters. Is your Pharah player and your Roadhog player are going to be the staples on your team.
Or it could be Hanzo pocketed by Mercy. It's basically whoever Mercy's pocketing.
Yeah,
projectile
it just
player.
sucks that Mercy gets no points for damage boosting
Yeah,
in fantasy.
that's a bummer.
Mercy players themselves actually probably drop a little.
Drop
Because-
a ton because they're not doing
they
a
were-
ton of healing either.
They were already at the bottom. It's hard.
Because they're only pocketing, not because they're healing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they're not healing the whole team. So your supports are really going to plummet in fantasy.
And it's worth noting too, we are going to see a change in what supports we are seeing. Lucio and Brigitte are basically going to be gone from this upcoming meta across the board, which is going to be
unless
another huge
teams-
change of pace.
Unless teams like Shock are like, well, we don't have anybody that can play anything but Ryan, so we're going to try Ryan Zarya, which Ryan Zarya
Super
could
Monkey's
still
alright.
work against Bunker if you have a Moira.
Yeah,
Because
Moira,
if you
I
have
think,
a
is the
Moira
wild card.
and a Lucio with a Ryan Zarya in a 2-2-2, it can still work because you push past shield.
Yeah.
But it's not optimal though. That's
Yeah. Moira, I
like
think
they're gonna play optimal.
Yeah, Moira will be the wild card fantasy wise. Because if you start seeing a lot of Moira, she's going to put out a lot of fantasy numbers with the healing and like the damage. Like, I mean, everyone's played that death match where they play Moira and you're not killing anyone, but you're just getting enough damage on her to get credit for the kill while somebody else does all the work.
They get like 29 assists throughout the game, yeah.
And you didn't really do crap. And but in fantasy, that's what you want. You want someone who's going to be getting all those kills, but also pumping out some damage and pumping out some heals. Like Moira in the right comp is hey, we just played a comp match and I got 5 gold medals. Well, in fantasy, you want that character that gets 5 gold medals. Like, because that's all that matters to you. You don't care if you win or lose. You care how your fantasy team is performing. And in Moira,
I don't know that Moira gets 5 gold medals outside of gold, though.
But she's the one that has the capability to get, gold damage, gold kills, gold objective kills, gold healing. Like, not many characters can pull that off. And she's one of them.
Do we think main tanks see any rise in stock right now, especially like in daily fantasy?
Okay, so I ran an experiment this week. So Thursday, Friday, I went with triple main tank for both days. And it did not go well. Like, it did not go well. So I think on Thursday, I went triple main tank at both the leagues, and with both my teams. And, well, actually, no, that one I did place 8th and 3rd. But on Friday, I took 16th and 12th. I just wasn't, you're not getting the numbers with because everyone's playing like the Roadhogs and stuff like that. So, like, for instance, you heard me say, who was it, got 160 points and so on and so forth. That was like low end for damage. Mono had 97 points. Gamsu had 140, and Bumper had 95 points. That's still super low.
Not good. Yeah, not good.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think, like, my experiment failed horribly. I took one for the team. But I still think the flex tank is the way to go. Especially with it being Roadhog. Most likely. We can't guarantee what it's going to be, but most likely your Roadhog is a better bet to play.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going in blind for this stage.
Well, I guess the other thing to think about would be, like, how much of an impact would, like, Orisa damage have as well? Especially
and
with, like,
the fact
when you
that
put that
she
bongo
gets to
down.
spray, so she'll get most. Like, she's like Winston, where she'll get most eliminations along with everybody else.
It really depends on just how much damage is going to the shield break.
Yeah, that's the other thing you
definitely.
got to worry about, because she's going to be shooting at that shield a lot. And, well, that's not counting towards your fantasy numbers. So...
And rightfully so, Ed.
Oh, no, yeah, no, you do not. You do not count that. I'm still waiting for damage blocked to be counted.
I think you can give up hope on that.
Till season 3. I think it'll be there for season 3.
Yeah, if
We're not
damage
getting it
blocked
fixed.
was something, then Orisa would be the king of fantasy.
Yeah. Like 100%.
Like, it would be absurd.
But yeah, it's gonna be. I think we all have an idea of what the meta is gonna be and who's gonna be doing best, but we legit have no idea what they're actually gonna be running. Like, they could be running some weird comp we're not even thinking of.
I hope so. I hope
because
so.
we don't, like, we still have in mind of Shanghai was running the triple support, triple damage, and their Widowmaker and Pharaoh were playing phenomenal. That they're going to be running that come around, but, like, how is that going to be when it's 2-2-2? Like, we've never had anything where it's just.
You did see they did a lot of 2-2-2.
Oh yeah,
where
you did
Young
see a
Jin
lot of
was on the
2-2-2.
Hog instead, but it was most impressive when Young Jin was on the Doom, and they were still running the other two DPS.
You saw the 2-2-2 them run it, but you don't know if that's exactly what they'd run if both teams were required to run 2-2-2.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you couldn't switch. So like this is stuff we just don't know. It's kind of like
A whole new world.
exactly. It's like
A
we
new
didn't know what was going to
fantastic
happen.
point of Overwatch.
We didn't know what was going to happen week 1, stage 1. Like we didn't know. Like we had an idea it'd probably be goats. We were right, but
We
you
were
didn't
wrong
know
about
for sure.
stage 3, though. Like,
we weren't. And
I was going to
didn't
the
know going in.
get upset to watch all of these games because I do podcasts on them, and I was like, man, this sucks.
Mhm.
But it turned out to be one of the best stages in all of the league to date.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see. So another question. I'm throwing you all under the bus here because I'm just throwing out random questions.
42.
Okay, not the answer. If you were besides the obvious EQO, because I know that would be Bob's answer, Totem's answer, and Randy's answer, who's the one person in the league that benefits the most from 2-2-2 Roadhog?
Choyobin.
Fantasy wise.
Choyobin?
I was saying,
Hey, explain
like,
yourself.
Fantasy wise, I think because he's going to be on that Roadhog as much as like I think he is going to be on that Roadhog 24/7. Also, that was a blurred out answer. I don't know if I actually believe that as much as I'm saying I do, but I think Choi's stock is going to go up a lot. DPS wise, I want to meme and say Zachary, but like I don't know if I could actually do that with myself. I think Jake also goes up a little bit just because he can finally play Junkrat, or maybe even finally play Torb a little bit, but not by a lot.
Farah. Jake's Farah.
Is Farah? What do we think about Mangachu's Farah going into stage 4 as well?
I like.
He was actually my answer.
Yeah,
Megachu.
way to destroy other people's answers, Ramses. Dick. Well, okay, so Bob was going to say Mangachu, but Ramsey stole it. Totem, what about you?
Oh, jeez. We haven't seen enough Farah play for everyone for me to just blurt out a random name.
All right, well, I'll let you think about it.
I still feel like
It
Corey's
still
gonna have the
could
most
be
to gain.
tracers too. Remember, like Brig, you're gonna have to sacrifice another heal to get Brig as your second healer. So tracer play might be back too.
The only time I see Tracer is if we're going full dive, and I don't expect that.
So you were saying you're sticking with
I'm
Corey?
sticking with Corey. I feel like the Justice will come out looking pretty damn good, and that's been a low scoring team for a while.
I'm going out of left field. I'm going Haxel. Like Haxel was already up here, considered an MVP.
So you're saying Genji's gonna be
I think the
point scorer?
Titans. I think the Titans are going to be running, Stitch and Haxel. And
Yeah, but I mean,
moving
like,
on is
Haxel-
Genji.
So you're expecting Sombra Genji.
Yeah, and I think Haxel is such a good. He's like a one of those defining players. It's kind of like a Sebeobi on Tracer type of players, but with Genji.
Mhm.
And once he's
no argument here.
Once he's allowed to play Genji and doesn't have to worry about stupid Baguette, then I think he'll really shine, and then he'll secure. Not only will he be a top fantasy player, he'll secure his spot as the MVP of the league.
I was
Actually,
waiting.
here I'm gonna change my answer. Prophet.
Prophet or Birdring, both of them are gonna probably shine.
Yeah,
Mm.
but Prophet will be the projectile.
Will Carpe
If
turn?
we're going with Birdwing and Prophet. Prophet's gonna be the projectile.
Do you think Carpe turns it around?
I don't think he does for fantasy because I think he goes right back to being the most dominant Widow in the game. And
Have you met
he
DM?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're good friends, and he's
Who
definitely
clowned on
gonna
him
up
when they played?
He's
Yeah,
definitely
it's
gonna
DM
up
Carpe.
play because of, and DM's the easy answer. Like he popped off this whole freaking weekend. Like.
Oh,
But
the argument
if
was
we're
whether or not he
talking
was better than
someone-
Carpe.
Well, I think Carpe and DM struggle with that daily.
Flip it around. It's DM Carpe now after their last head-to-head, and DM clapped him.
Clowned on him.
He's just like, Carpe, you're my bitch. I'm gonna headshot you left and right. So, I don't know. It's gonna be completely up in the air for me with this 2-2-2 Roll-Lock. Now watch. Overwatch League, the big announcement is gonna be talking about, like, not even that. It's gonna be, they're gonna, like, add on to what's happening in 2020, and then a new hero. And they're gonna be like, all this awesome stuff, and then they're gonna be like 2-2-2 Season 3.
Or what I'm like, what's gonna be more annoying is the fact that they're gonna start Watchpoint and then they won't tell us about 2-2-2 to like the end of the show. So it'll just be them.
I
from,
can't
like,
imagine they do that when they would do like a Stage 4 preview.
No, what's gonna happen is they're gonna do 2-2. They're gonna do Watchpoint, and Bren's gonna come out in some skimpy ass outfit and challenge someone to a Widow 1v1.
Guys, this current competitive season has been cut short for some weird reason. There's no way 2-2-2 doesn't come in. They had to give teams the proper amount, which was Stage 3, the proper amount of time to get their stuff going. We've seen with player acquisitions, if the Overwatch League were to revert now, it would be catastrophic. Like, I don't know that it was the best idea to put it in Stage 4, but that's what's happening. And for them to revert that now would be even worse than the arguably bad idea of putting it into Stage 4 and not starting it in Stage 3.
Well, at least in this case for New York, they can't practice something throughout the entirety of the stage only to completely abandon it. Now they're basically, they force their hand.
What the, like, I was like, after week 1 of Stage 3, I was like, all right, I think New York's going to do this thing where they run Sombra Goats the entirety. And I was right. Until the playoffs. Like,
well, they want to do
happened there? What happened? Playoffs?
Yeah,
that's why you throw the diva in there. So you're trying to do keyword trying to deal with the Pharah.
Blame Dallas, giving them a case of the spooks of them not wanting to force Libero onto D.Va, which he has like literally no play time on to try to deal with the best Pharah in the league.
Also,
Dean.
Here's the other thing I didn't get throughout the playoffs is this is something the New York did, the Titans did, and the Shock did. I get that D.Va can be a counter to Pharah. Can be. Not the most ideal
very soft
counter.
one.
She is. She's has been through the entirety of Overwatch the best counter to her.
Yes.
But not in this current meta with Doomfist running around, Widow running around, and the Pharah running around. No, D.Va cannot do all of those jobs.
The Titans and Excelsior and Shock are like, you know how we're going to counter this, Pharah? We're going to switch to D.Va. I'm like, don't switch to D.Va. Like, you can't, like, I get it.
I feel like
SBB
was sick. I feel like SBB was sick. That's what I have to stick with.
Also, I want to point out the Shanghai Dragons, yet they won, but they really lost. Because they did not bring Gamsu's dog on stage when they won. And for that alone, the Shanghai Dragons are losers.
But you know what? They're the last stage champions that we'll ever have.
We actually had a question about Gamsu's dog, and Shanghai asked us to cut it, so we cut it. But I think
his
Shanghai
dog is the fan favorite.
Yeah, Gamsu did his first interview with us in English, and they felt that it was going to be lost in translation. But I wish I could have shared it with you guys because his answer was so cute. But we had to cut it because we're not about disgracing players, and so if they want to cut, we had to cut it.
So, all right, I'm done ranting about 2-2-2.
Yeah, you'll have plenty of time to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're Korean, though, you need to say it, tu-tu-tu. Because every interview we did, they literally say, tu-tu-tu, tu-tu-tu. Like, it's so fast. Whereas we say as Americans 222, they go 222. It's sorry, just something I noticed editing a lot of interviews from Korean players.
That's because we have to reiterate it multiple times. See what it is. But anyways, of course, guys, tune in Thursday night for Watchpoint for that inevitable announcement of 222 for stage number 4. We'll see how things shake up the meta, who's going to be on the rise, who's going to fall, and of course, we'll see who makes it to that play-in tournament at the end of the stage. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, the best thing to do is to go leave us a review over on iTunes. We're always looking for insight on how we can improve the show to make for a better listening experience for you guys. If you would like to find additional Overwatch-related content, be sure to check out Overwatch Recall, which you can find on our website. There you can find all of the Overwatch League, Path to Pro, Fantasy Overwatch League content, podcast-wise, at owlnshow.com/OWRecall, and then every Sunday night we release the episodic listings of all the prior week's content, which can be found on Twitter at OWRecall. And of course, if you guys want to support the show, you can do so in a few different ways. You could throw us your Twitch Prime subs over on our Twitch page if you're always checking out our live shows, which we greatly appreciate. You could also sub normally on Twitch. That is an alternative, so, it's like $4.99. You could get our sweet network emoticon. And outside of that, we also have our Patreon. We have tiers starting at just $1 a month, so be sure to go check that out. We have tiers starting at, just $1 and goes all the way up to $10 for the most part. And Ed, I'm pretty sure we had a new Patreon, or a new patron this week, if I'm not mistaken.
I screw that up all the time.
Right?
They're too close.
For the longest time, I called it Patreon. Oh, God, I screwed it up so much. But we did. We did have a new Patreon member start this week.
Patron of Patreon.
Yeah.
Patron of Patreon.
And of course, that would be Kasha. So thank you so much for becoming our newest patron. And of course, you're joining our Master and Above patrons alongside Blazing Bob, Brendan, Joseph Ball, and Owl. So thank you guys again for helping our network grow. But Ed, of course, we have a number of different ways how our listeners can get a hold of us. So why don't you let them know how they can do that?
All right, let me breathe in real
quickly.
Yes.
Quickly.
So
let's do the speed run.
Yes. So you can reach us through email at contact@owlnshow.com. We are on Twitter at OWL by the numbers. We do have a website where we post all of our stuff on, and that is owlnshow.com. We also post all our videos, live streams, all that fun bejazzle on YouTube at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord, so come over there, chit-chat with us, harass us, mainly harass me, at discord.me/OWLNshow. As Totem had stated, we are streaming live presently on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are a Twitch affiliate. It is Prime Days. Come help support the show by subscribing to our channel with your Amazon Prime membership and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly. So on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have Overwatch League Network. On Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, we have this show, OWL by the Numbers. And then Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, we have the show Totem and myself do together, Heroes Never Die. And then host streams, when available, run on a flex schedule. So be sure to follow us live on Twitch or in Discord or on Twitter, and you'll find out. I know me and Spider and probably Totem plan on hanging out on Twitch on Thursday when they do the announcement. So that should be fun.
Is that where I could see you lose more Widow 1v1 duels to Totem? Or
hey. Yes. But
Yes.
I beat Spider in a Torb Hammer off. Torb Hammer 1v1. I won that. And that's what started it all.
And Spider is really good at pretty much every character.
Also,
so
I beat Totem in a Doomfist 1v1.
But I won both the sniper duels.
Yes. So shut up. I won the Doomfist one. And as Totem had previously said, you can help support the show by going over to patreon.com/OWL Network. And then, question of the day.
Dude, you were doing badass until now.
Question of the day.
Yes, it's Leos.
What is this fear? It's an actual fear. It is Hippopotamo sesquidellophobia. What is that a fear of?
Is it like similar to arachnophobia but scared of dance?
No.
Scared of stuffed hippopotamus plushes.
It's an irrational fear of long words.
Exactly. Hippoptomastrosphosquidophobia is the fear of long words, and it is the longest word in the dictionary.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The more you go.
Something to think about.
Yes. You can reach me personally on Twitter at Edanar Overwatch, EDANAR Overwatch. I have been getting weekly harassment Twitter messages from people calling me out for my horrible predictions. So I'd like to keep that alive. I got a couple this week.
We will keep giving you horrible predictions.
And we should start reading these on the show. See, I don't know about this stuff.
Yeah, so like I got one this week about my rant about the New York Excelsior not losing.
Shanghai I was like, yeah, Shanghai's probably. I think Shanghai's gonna win this, and both of you go, wrong, and then spent 10 minutes telling me I was wrong.
Life sucks for content creators. That is a fact.
But you know what? I'm still gonna stick with it because every time I'm right, I'm gonna throw it down your throat, and then every time I'm wrong, I'm gonna throw it down your throat. So,
or you just shrug.
Yes. So, Ramses, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Ramses_OW, and you can find the show I do at PushPointPod. Pretty good episode this week. We have begun a very, very one-sided hate relationship with the New Orleans Pelicans. So, if you have any,
it was a really good episode. Listen to it today.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Yeah, any hate you have for the New Orleans Pelicans, please send it our way because screw those guys.
And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Totem, the master of the show, my senpai. Where can we find you?
Well, I'm over on Twitter at TimelyDrunkCTR. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you all again for hanging out with us on another episode of OWL by the Numbers. This has been episode number 24. I've been your host, Totally Drunk, joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Edanar, Blazin' Bob, and Ramses, and we hope to see you guys tomorrow night for what very well could be a three-hour episode of Heroes Never Die, because we have a lot of stuff to cover.
A 303-hour.
3-hour tour.
It's gonna be a
3-hour tour. And to all you haters that say Ednar sucks, you're wrong. Right. He's badass.
I mean, to all of you who say that, you're half right.
I mean, they're not wrong.
I mean, there's two things. Ed, I think you are wonderful for the whole community, and I will stand by that statement to anybody that ever talks to me.
And any of the listeners out there, if you know Brent, let him know I threw down the challenge tonight.
Oh, shit.
I
mean, I know.
I think you and Brent would be a fantastic duo. I think
Bobby,
you guys
I know
just about the same amount of knowledge of Overwatch. Perfect.
Bobby, I know two things about Ed. All right, I know two things. Number one, he's a pretty good guy to co-host with, and then number two, he still loves the Outlaws, guys.
Hashtag Ednar loves the Outlaws.
Hashtag Ednar loves Outlaws.
And with that, guys, we're out. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.